Well, for more on this, I'm now joined live from the Libyan capital by investigative journalist Webster Tarpley. Mr. Tarpley, many thanks for joining us. Now, Russia's NATO envoy has said that the coalition is preparing a land operation in Libya. How possible is that at this point?
Unfortunately, it's eminently possible. We've had reports in the United States now for 10 days to 2 weeks about orders being given to U.S. military units at Fort Hood, Texas. Special forces told to be ready to go somewhere in July, with Libya being prominently mentioned. Following on after that, the 1st Cavalry Division, the Tank Division, most of which is now in Afghanistan and Iraq. And after that, the 3rd Corps, which is a larger group that's spread out over Fort Sill, Oklahoma, Fort Carson, Fort Hood, and other military facilities. So I'm afraid we have a psychosis of aggression in Washington, D.C., which could go in any direction. Libya is a possible target. It could be Syria. It could be Pakistan. We simply don't know at this point.
OK, well, Foreign Minister, the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, he's lashed out at what he's called the ambiguity of Chapter 4 of the UN resolution on Libya. Do you think that a land operation could actually then go through under such, quote, misinterpretations?
Well, the NATO operation is already flagrantly illegal because of the way they're violating. Let me put it this way. The resolution violates the charter, and NATO is violating the resolution. They've got a sea blockade going here. If you go out with your fishing boat here off the coast of Tripoli, you're going to get a U.S. Predator drone come and shoot you up. So this is not the protection of civilians, it's the attempt to starve civilians. NATO air power is used to protect armed gangs packed full of Al-Qaeda and other terrorists, and it's used to attack civilians. I've seen homes here where 4 or 5 little children, essentially preschool kids, were killed in the middle of the night by bombs launched by aircraft from 40,000 feet. That is a very cowardly way to wage war. So we're in the midst now of international anarchy, and certainly countries like Russia would be very well advised to do something urgently to try to restore the rule of international law, and that would mean some more energetic measures against what the United States, Britain, and France are doing.
Now, would you expect to see any action on Russia's behalf if NATO does in fact decide to intervene in Syria, widening this out now without a UN mandate?
Well, Syria is, of course, a special case because you've got that Russian naval station at Tartus, so that leads to something rather direct. But again, the insanity now dominating Washington is very severe. In the Obama administration, let me point out, I believe we already have more than enough votes in the U.S. House of Representatives to cut off the funding, to basically tell Obama, if you spend money on this war in any form, even in the support activities, that's illegal, that's another impeachable offense. We're looking forward to a strong, clean anti-war bill being brought into the House of Representatives once this 4th of July congressional recess is over. And the previous votes show that there is already a majority if you have a bill that says in a very clear way, it is not authorized, it will not be funded, it has to end. And at that point, Obama will be facing more impeachable offenses. He's already impeachable because he's violating the War Powers Act. He's been waging war against Libya for more than 90 days.
Well, of course, the NATO allies argue strongly that they are in all of these countries in order to protect civilians. And France has been calling for Security Council action on Syria, motivated by that same urge. But with such a strong opposition that we're seeing from countries like Russia, how else could NATO act to get into the Syrian conflict?
Well, there would be ways. Right now, we've got an orgy of the CIA Predator drones and Pentagon Predator drones. I think it's a new count every morning. Right now, the U.S. is attacking 6 countries with Predator drones: Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, and, of course, Libya here. That would be one way to do it. There's also perhaps the question of the United States attempting to foment more conflict between Turkey and Syria. That might be a more likely way, a kind of surreptitious way to do it. Remember, if you attack Syria, you may get a trifecta. You might then get not just Syria, but Iran and Hezbollah into the bargain. So at that point, we would be talking about something that would look much more like a world war. Some observers have pointed out, I agreed with them, we may be in something like July of 1914. We may be in the summer of 1914 between the Sarajevo assassinations and the moments when the gun began to shoot. Most of world public opinion doesn't see that, but I think this is now probably the most dangerous world situation I've ever seen.